Topo Athletic is committed to lifelong health and better movement. Topo builds running shoes for those who get out there every day regardless of weather, speed, energy, or mood. Their distinctive fit and feel combines instinctive human movement with modern performance and lightweight comfort to help you keep going, keep trying, and keep moving. Discover the Topo difference and step into a run experience unlike any other.
So we got Jen, is it Spieldenner? Did I get it?
You got it. Good job.
And we got somebody in the chat, Morgan, saying, go Jen.
Yeah, I stood with Morgan at Masters. So here in Columbus. Yeah.
So how are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
Not too bad. Just trying to adjust my makeshift stand here, but it's all good. I just wanted to thank you for coming on the show, and I'm super excited to get to chat with you. We just talked in the green room, and within 15 minutes of talking, it sounds like we've already got a lot in common, so it's going to be a great conversation. But I wanted to start by just kind of, before getting into how you started on your endurance sports journey, I wanted to start with the icebreaker, just to like break the ice. But it doesn't seem like you've listened to any of the other fireside chats, so here we go. Pineapple on pizza, yay or nay?
Probably nay.
Oh, man, you might be the first person. I might have to call Jason to do the rest of his interview because he's a traditional New Yorker, and I'm always like team pineapple, and like the last 5 have been pineapple, and it was stacking up. But Jason's gonna be happy that he's got somebody on team nay for pineapple on pizza.
Yeah, that's good.
But yeah, so just tell me a little bit about how you got started in endurance sports.
I guess I grew up swimming. I always thought I'd go to the Olympics in swimming. And then I started running in middle school, and I liked a boy. Of course, I liked a boy, and he ran distance. And so I thought, well, I'll run distance. And then I guess that was like middle school, and then high school, I started actually getting a lot better at running. And people in Finley noticed and were like, why don't you try triathlon? And so I tried that my junior or senior year of high school. And then somebody like contacted me from USA Triathlon saying like, we want to train you for the Olympics, or we just ignored it. And then sent it again. And so maybe we're like, maybe this isn't fake. And then like did a race down in Claremont, like an ITU race. So that's kind of how my triathlon journey started, was I did ITU racing. Maybe that's like draft legal. That's what they do in the Olympics. So like it's like Peloton style on the bike. And did that and qualified for like world championships as like a junior athlete, kind of did that under 23. Got a full ride to run at Toledo for running and did that. So definitely wanted to go to college and get my degree, but then graduated from college in 2008, kind of raced in the summers for triathlon, and then started doing triathlon full time from 2008 until I did my last race in 2020. December of 2020, I did Daytona. So I'm still technically a professional triathlete. I think my license expires at the end of this year, and I won't lie, like I thought about coming back to do a race just to like have it extend out 3 more years. Because my career definitely didn't end on my terms, but it's not for the right reasons why I'd be racing, so not probably going to do that. Yeah.
Sure. It's funny that you mentioned like a professional license, because I didn't even know. I mean, I'm a trail runner, and Jason definitely knows more about triathlon than I do, but I didn't even know that there was such thing as like a license to be a professional.
Yeah, so I think people think that like elite triathletes that are like high up in the age group are pros, but no, you actually have to have your pro license. You have to qualify for it. You have to like prove it with a result, with certain like certain race like percentages behind the winner and stuff like that. And yeah, it expires after 3 years. So say I like let it expire, I'd have to race as an age grouper and re-earn my license. But yeah, so it's kind of like the final step of like saying like, hey, I'm done doing this.
Yeah. Yeah, you were doing it for almost 12 years as a professional. And like,
Oh, for 15, like from 2005 to 2020. Yeah, it was my whole life. Like high end, like high performance athletics was my whole life. So definitely different what I'm doing now, but it's all good.
Designed for running adventures on a variety of surfaces, the Catula Exospikes footwear traction are at home on ice and snow, as well as on dry, rocky ground. 12 ultra-durable tungsten carbide spikes provide an impressive amount of grip when you need it, and stand up to rocks and other abrasive trail features when you don't. Exospikes will inspire you to follow the trail less traveled, even when it's covered in ice. For more information, visit catula.com.
It's all good.
yeah, it's it's something that we talked about in the green room, and I'm glad we're kind of getting into it because I think there's a lot of people who are trying to balance. I think not only professionals who have transitioned into a normal life, but also people who are kind of trying to find a balancing act between the two, or people who've been doing endurance sports their whole life, and it's sort of become like a part of their identity, even people who just started. So tell me about like that transition from like being a professional triathlete to doing what you do, because you're now doing taxes for Wendy's, right? You're a tax accountant.
I'm a tax accountant for Wendys. That's correct.
That's a super cool picture, by the way.
Thank you. I got second. I lost to Shrek and a donkey. Kind of disappointing, but
Not a bad one.
their costume was better. I will concede my loss. But yeah, I mean, I think I did a good job like trying not to wrap my identity. Like definitely when I was younger, my identity was really wrapped up into like my performances, and like my value as a person depended if I like did well. And I think I learned that I cannot value who I am as a person by my results. So I started kind of doing that work before I even transitioned out. And I definitely had like I don't know if they're hobbies, but I definitely had interest outside of the sport. So then when my time came, like it's just, no matter what, it's like a hard transition. It's like something that you focused your whole life around. I swam, bike, and ran. I traveled a lot. My whole life just being the fastest I could be at something, and like also like not being balanced, because like trying to be very good at something, like you're definitely not balanced. And so like kind of trying to figure out that and how that looks once you like remove yourself from the sport. And yeah, I don't know. I'm happy with what I'm doing. I exercise quite a bit, and it took me a second to want to get it back on a start line. I didn't race again. Tried to race in 2021, and it just wasn't mentally right for me at the time. And finally did something at the end of last year. So yeah. And now I like kind of get the bug back, because it is addicting. I'm sure everybody can relate to how addicting this stuff is. And I definitely, part of me is like always kind of having an athletic goal, but then like the balance part of it. So yeah, I have a corporate job, and Wendy's is super supportive. And like, they said like, if you want to race again, we can support that. And I'm like, but I want a family, and like I want to like spend time with my significant other and my friends and my family. And I like want to create, like, I want to have a baby. Like, so you have to prioritize kind of what you want to do. And I got to do that part of my life for better part of 20 years. And so now it's time to have other goals. And I don't know, I guess I'm maybe not answering your question for other people.
No, no, that totally makes sense. And I think that's part of like what people who are doing the sport as a hobby are always trying to figure out, is like they want to do the thing that they love because they have the bug, but then it's like, you have kids and you have a family, and
yeah,
there's moms out there who have like 3 kids, and then there's somebody out there who has a corporate job, like tax accountant, which, by the way, thank you for taking this week to talk to us, because I know it's a tough week to be a tax accountant, I would imagine.
Yeah, it definitely is not an easy week here, but no, I'm just grateful for the opportunity. But yeah, I mean, I think like having the other responsibilities in life, it doesn't mean you can't like, go after big athletic goals. It's just you have to just be realistic with yourself, and then, sorry, that's my dog. Prioritize.
We love running buddies, so we love
I mean, you just have to figure out like what is, like what are your key sessions, and just making sure like those maybe happen during the week. And you need to be flexible. Like life isn't rigid. There's things that happen and things that come up, and you just have to be flexible with what your time allows you to do. Be creative. And as you get older, you have to be creative. That's what I tell my older friends. I'm getting older too.
Yeah, that makes total sense, to just be like creative with your sessions and just being flexible. And that's something that I learned going into my 5th year of running now, is just like, sometimes you have to take that unplanned rest day. Sometimes you might have a good day and you're like, I can go a little farther today. Sometimes you're having a terrible day and you didn't sleep well, you're stressed and your heart rate's through the roof, and you're like, today is not it,
Yeah, totally agree with that. And like, you really just need to be, as you get older, typically you get better at listening to your body and kind of knowing yourself. And I think just adjusting to that. And stress is stress. So people think like, oh, I'm running 100 miles a week or whatever it is. Or I mean, that's like a really crazy number, but that's not the only stress that's going on in your life. I mean, if you're not sleeping, if you're like, there's just so many other stresses, and all those need to be accounted for.
Totally. And I'm pulling it up here, but you actually made a post about that a while back, where you're just basically saying that, yeah, I do my legwork on everybody who comes on the show, because I want to ask all the right questions. But you mentioned continuing to move forward after getting gut checked, and you said it's okay to struggle, and like it's an opportunity to learn and grow. So just talk about that for our viewers, as somebody who has been competitive most of their life and trying to find that balance, of like having grace for yourself and like moving forward with the struggles and learning and growing.
Yeah, I think like anytime you have like anything negative, or it's an opportunity to grow. I think about all the hard things I've gone through, and they've taught me something about myself, or just life in general. Like sometimes I think too that as humans, we all have like these rites of passage. Like I just had to put one of my dogs down on St. Patty's Day, and it was like my first time ever having to do that. And it was awful. It was the worst day of my life. But like in that process, I learned a lot. And I don't know. And it was a rite of passage that a lot of people have had to do before me, and that we'll continue to have to do. And like it connects us all, like as humans, like to have that experience, I guess. But yeah, I think like struggling is a good thing, and we can learn so much. And yeah, if you take the opportunity to learn from it and view it as an asset or something like that, and that's a tax word versus anyways.
Well, since we're talking about struggling and learning from it, let's shift the story back to like 2005 to 2020 when you were racing professionally. When did you have any DNFs that impacted you, and what were your takeaways? Like, if you had any particular memorable experiences, what were like your takeaways from that?
From DNFing?
Yeah.
DNFing's the worst. I think people that have raced and they've had a DNF, it's definitely the worst feeling. I've had all different types of DNF. I've had like mechanical DNFs, like where I've had 2 flaps on the bike. I've had heat stroke type DNFs, like where my body just kind of gives out. That might be the only DNFs I've had.
I imagine that both of those might hit you differently too, because the mechanical one is like, dang, like it's out of my control, but it was also sort of in my control. And then the heat stroke is like, oh, it's not a good idea to continue, No,
for sure. And body kind of takes care of that one by shutting down. So that's positive, I guess, like to do further damage. I guess there's one time that I knew I was approaching the heat stroke when I was in New Orleans, and I did decide to just walk off the course, and I chose to DNF. But pretty much my DNFs were all kicking and screaming, getting me off the course. There's definitely a lot of races that I finished that I should have just DNF'd. Like Kona, when I did Kona in 2019, definitely should have DNF'd that race, but I wanted to finish. And so I probably walked the majority of that marathon. And yeah, it's just part of sport. It's part of trying to do this endurance crap and going, like, pushing your body outside. It's not crap, but like trying to push your body outside the limits and completely out of you're definitely not comfortable. And, you know, things get thrown your way. Like in Kona, I was vomited for 3 hours, and continued to vomit when I got off the bike, couldn't keep anything down, and was also going through some personal stuff that just, yeah, I got hit. I also I DNF'd a race. This is in 2019. I got hit by a race moto in Santa Rosa. So that was a different type of DNF. So yeah, like the race moto just T-boned me, and so that's another way you can end a race. That's not it. Actually, that was, yeah, not great. There's a lot of mixed emotions on that one, but yeah. So that happened. Kona was my first time racing since getting hit by a moto, and if anybody's raced Kona, I mean, there's so many motos out there. There's like the wind. There was so much, so many things I was trying to overcome during that race that was really hard. Yeah. But yeah.
And I would imagine that Kona, like, it's one thing that if you DNF a training race or something, or like a race that's on your calendar where you're like, this is not the race, you know, like I can dial it back if I'm not having a good day. It's another thing when you're out in Kona and you're like, this is Kona, you know, I can't.
Well, it's also like my family flew out there. It's not a cheap event. Like, it's very expensive to get out there. Like, a lot was kind of invested. I also like really didn't want to have a reason to ever go back. Again, like personal stuff leading into the race. I never really wanted to go back. So I think like if I wouldn't have finished, I would have felt the need to go back. Obviously, like I had expectations. I really wanted a top 10. I mean, heat and humidity's never been my thing. And, you know, that was my second Ironman of my life. I think Ironman would have been the distance I would have, like, I'm the most suited for. Because like Louisville was so great in 2018, like first Ironman, win it out the gate, and then have the Kona experience, and then then COVID happened, and then I'm not racing anymore. So just never really another opportunity to do that.
Yeah, for sure. Now, flipping the tables, are there any races where that may necessarily not have been your best performances, but ones that you're like really, really proud of for overcoming something, like maybe not heat and humidity, but something, you know?
I guess like when you said that, I actually had a good performance. This was like Timberman, which is not, it was in New Hampshire for, I don't even know if it's still around. I think it was in New Hampshire, but I think it was 2016, and the airlines damaged my bike on the way there, so it cracked my fork.
Oh, no.
And like the night before the race, I was still without a bike, and I remember driving to bike shop trying to find it, and I'm short, so I'm like 5'3", and my wheels were still okay, and my coach was like, we just need to get you're gonna race with your wheels, we just need to get you a bike. But at that time I was riding 650s, which are like, that's also very hard to find a bike that would fit 650s. And then I think Heather Jackson's mom's friend or something had a bike, and they brought it the morning of the race. So this is like really overcoming a lot of control. And the morning of the race, the mechanics, like we had it all planned, like they just switched over the wheels, and I ended up getting, I think, third behind Rennie. Rennie was second, and I think Megs, Tessair got first. And that's like a pretty decent result, and I wasn't that far behind Rennie on like this. I don't recommend ever riding a bike with a saddle. It was a half. It was only a half, but like that was definitely, I'm pretty. Like that was one of my takeaways from racing, and that's something I'm super proud of, that I got through that, and I didn't give up, and like mentally was just really strong through that whole day and that whole process, the whole weekend.
Yeah, what is your mindset going into stuff like that? Like, do you have like a mantra that you get into when you get deep into the hurt locker, the pain cave, that you repeat to yourself, or
I
is there?
maybe not like, I think I really I like being the underdog. I like having hard things that I have to overcome. Sometimes I think the harder I have to overcome it, I always feel like I'm going to excel better than somebody else that might be faster than me. Because I think mentally I can just get myself to this space that I just focus on the task at hand. And I think I can just get really like laser focused and really just, this is what I'm doing. Like, this is what I'm doing right now. And just push, push, push. I think throughout my whole career, I've always had different mantras. Like, nothing's ever, I feel like during that time frame, I was wearing a bracelet. I wish I could remember. Because I think as you change, like, I don't think you should get too attached to one thing. Because as you like evolve and you change, I think like what speaks to you and what motivates you changes as you grow and as you change. So I think like getting attached or like that is, you might be doing a disservice for yourself. I mean, that's just for me. And I think, I forget now that you're going to make me think, because definitely was when I was going through some personal crap as well. And definitely just, I always just think I'm always stronger than, you're always stronger than you think you are. I mean, you can always, no one gives themselves enough credit. We're always our worst critic. I think just realizing that is good too. Anyways.
Yeah, we had a sports psychologist on the show, Krista Haskell, who has written an article for our February issue called "The Inner Coach versus the Inner Critic," and that one really made me think, because it's like, if you really just stop and listen to all the things that you're saying to yourself, it is just unreal, like how you can really be your own worst enemy, you know?
Yeah, and that's definitely something I've like worked on with my therapist, because I am insanely critical of myself to like sometimes the detriment. And that's part of like me figuring out my balance. Like sometimes you just have to say like, this is good enough. And I don't know, it's, yeah, like calling yourself names and like trying to like bully yourself to get something done isn't like always the way. But I will say, on the trying to like figure out a new path of like talking to myself when I've only really had success with beating myself up is kind of, it's a whole different ride that I'm trying to figure out. 'Cause I'm like, well, I know I have success being like insanely difficult on myself, but can I maybe have success being a little bit kinder to myself? And like, you know, that's like kind of what I'm playing with, what I have been playing with the last couple of years. And sometimes, yeah, I do see like, it's different approach.
Totally.
Yeah.
I want to go back to something you just said about like evolving and changing your why, and just kind of like just evolution over time, I would say. You know, as somebody who's been doing has been doing endurance for their entire life, has also been doing it on a competitive level, and did it from 2005 to 2020, almost 15 years. What is your key, coming in season after season and doing anything, and I will say anything in life, doing it at a high level for that long? What was your key to your longevity in being able to like endure in this sport and stay in the sport for that long?
I think I had good support. I had really good supportive parents. But I think like as I got older, like in 2005, I was 19, and I think I told you before, like we started the live part, is I lived and died with my results type thing. Like I kind of had a lot of attachment to my results, and I think learning that I'm not my results. Like for one thing, none of us are what we do, like that be career or whatever. Like we're way more than that. And I think feeling like I'm more than just my results or more than just my job title. Like it's just, it's super important to like know that you're more than that and know who you are as a person, like who you are, like outside of what you do. Um, and I think like as I like got into the sport and got deeper into the sport, I started taking a little bit longer breaks, not getting, I know people get like super worried if they take more than 2 weeks. Like I took 7-week breaks. So like I would think 4 to 7 week breaks. I mean, I'm active. It's not like I didn't do anything for those times, but I did whatever I wanted because I think mentally you also need to like disengage from like the very strategic and all planned out sessions. Like sometimes it's like you want to wake up and just be like, today I'm going to do this. And I think that like contributed to my longevity. I was part of like a group that I like really made really good friends with. I think having that community, and like I was still in Finland when I was racing. Now I live in Columbus, but I had a good group of community there. I think surrounding yourself with good people that you enjoy being around, I think that helped my longevity. Just different things, and like you kind of just learn as you go. Definitely what I was doing in 2005 was definitely not what I was doing in 2020. I'll say that. But
yeah, I mean, it definitely makes sense because, like going, not only were you growing within the sport and evolving within the sport, you were also, life was still going, and you were 19 when you started, and then, 34 towards the end, and that person you were when you were 19 is not who you were when you were 34. So it's crazy to think about, like evolving in the sport and also evolving in life.
yeah, and like sport also teaches you things. Like you're going to learn a lot about yourself. You said you're an ultra runner, so I'm sure you learn a lot about yourself at like mile 90 for doing mile races.
Yeah.
And like coming from somebody that, did that, I mean, you learn, you get pretty acquainted with yourself doing that stuff because you're definitely pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. Just very eye-opening, and I'm grateful I found sport like when I did, like a long time. Like I'm just happy like my life had that part of it because it's even though I'm not racing like professionally anymore, like it's still a huge part of my life. Like I swim with the masters group. I have a bunch of friends I run with. I ride my cross bike on the trail. Like I'm still very active, and I'm, it's going to be a huge part of my life forever. And like the people that you attract doing sport, and it's great. Yeah.
Yeah, the community is incredible. Like I've always maintained that if tomorrow I can't run at the level I'm running right now, I would still volunteer at trail races. I would still go up to events, and it's just, I said I came for the sport, and I'm staying. One of the big reasons I'm staying is just the amazing community and the people you meet who are so focused on like growing and evolving, and just living their why through these sports, using these sports as a conduit.
Yeah, for sure.
So one of the things that we also talked about in the green room that you've definitely been vocal about on your page, and that I think a lot of people struggle with but are afraid to talk about it for various reasons, is eating disorder. So, going through your page, one of the things I saw that stood out to me was one sentence that your coach said to you when you were 13 years old. Like, if you dropped a few pounds, you would be a better swimmer. So talk about that.
Yeah.
And how that impacted you and what it means to tell kids that age something like that,
Yeah, I think I was in 8th grade when that was said to me. So I was 12 or 13. I was young for my grade. And yeah, like just drop the line. Like if you lost a few pounds, you'd be faster. And so I proceeded to lose, I think, 30 pounds. And yeah, like I will tell you, like at first I did get a little bit quicker. So you get that reward and then you get the attention. And when you're 12 and 13 and your coach who you idolize is giving you attention, because guess what? Now you're fast. Now you're faster. And you get that, attention. So then it like just feeds it. And then it got too out of control. Obviously, I lost way too much weight. And then it's like the flip where, well, now you need to put on weight. Well, you started this, like you can't just stop it like that. It doesn't work that way. a comment that definitely, it changed my life. It's at 12 or 13, however, when you stop eating like that. I was already having my periods. Well, that stopped. Started having like bone issues and had, I don't know, 12 or 13 stress fractures over the course of 10 years. Like we talked about, like how I was diagnosed with osteoporosis, like had female triad, had to see a bone doctor because they were concerned, I had bone issues because I had 4 stress fractures in 1 year. But those are like the consequences of not giving your body the nutrients it needs, and that type of, like, you just can't do those things, especially when you're going through puberty. And at that age, kids are so impressionable, and especially by people that they look up to, like a coach. And so I think like words that we use and how we approach weight, because weight is it can at some point, like, weight is important, but not like, I think we think that a one size body fits everything. Like you have to be rail thin to be a fast runner, or you need to have this or that to do this. And I've had a shit ton of people tell me, I can't believe you're as fast as you are. Like, and I'm a good swimmer. I can't believe how fast you're of a swimmer. You're so short, and like people say stuff about my quads, like, you don't, you got quads like that just swimming? Like, that's what somebody said to me at the pool. No, I do other things too. Thank you. But I think it's just society, like body image and all that stuff is just front and center. And changing, I think there are constructive ways to approach the subject, and it's maybe a little bit of ignorance and people not intentionally trying to say anything negative. Like, you got to give people grace. They're just trying to be nice. I mean, they're trying to give you a compliment. And no one's trying to hurt somebody, I don't think. And it's just like our words, like I wrote that before, like our words, they mean something, and you need to kind of think about what you kind of say sometimes. So yeah, I mean, that's how mine started. And I was telling you before, like, I swim with a master's group, and I think they have like an age group swim team, probably high school kids, and they have like a list of things that they could, improve upon, like to get faster at swimming. And the first thing on the list was BMI. And to me, it's just like, why are we valuing that? Like why is that even on the list? I don't know. I mean, we could say like, just to feed your body the nutrients it needs,
Yeah.
To perform at your best. Like, everybody's body type is different. Like, trying to conform, like I said, to like a certain type, it's just not going to be conducive to yourself and being the fastest and the best that you can be. But that's just my personal take.
Yeah. And I mean, one of the things that stood out to me as far as like that post that you made, which is really impactful to me, is that, I used to be 250 pounds when I was 18 years old.
Yeah.
And I struggled with losing a bunch of weight to get to the bottom of the spectrum. Even just a few years ago, as I was diving into ultra running, just was like dropped my weight down like immensely, and I did get faster to start with, but it ended up biting me in the end, and I've really had to work on my relationship with food. So one of the things that stood out to me, and it's something that I've talked about before too, is that, you don't really, with things like body image and eating disorders, you don't really just get over it. It's something that you sort of compartmentalize. So talk about that a little bit, because we did chat about that in the green room a little bit.
Yeah, I think like once you kind of have that, it's kind of with you forever. I don't think it's just like I'm cured. I don't think it controls me. It's, I don't, there's things like, it's like, when I get super stressed sometimes, like it's kind of like a trigger for me to not, like, because it's a control thing too. So eating disorders are a control disorder. So it's kind of like when everything's chaotic, it's like, well, I can control this. And so just kind of knowing those type of things and being aware, and not wanting to go down that path, because I think like food is like, we need food to perform. We need food to live. Like, food isn't like the enemy here. But I kind of always say like everything in moderation, like nothing's really bad. Like, that's kind of like my motto a little bit. And yeah, I mean, I just view food that I need food so I can do what I want to do. Like, and my body's going to be what my body's going to be. Your body sets. It's interesting to me, like my body has been the same. Like, I was concerned about gaining weight when I got out of it, but hell, like it seems like if I fuel my body appropriately, it stays the same, because everybody's body's kind of set to a certain kind of point. I mean, yeah, like you don't overeat and all that stuff when you exercise and those things, but it's body kind of just calibrates.
Yeah, totally. It's just the importance of knowing that like food is like, you need those nutrients, you need food to live. And, for most of us, especially those of us who are like in the mid to the back of the pack who are doing this as a hobby, as long as you're having everything in moderation, like as nutritionists on the show have told us, you could get run over by a bus tomorrow, but eat the donut, like have the fried, go get that ice cream, like
for sure.
Live life, but definitely agree with you about like just different body types. And I do like the suggestion of like putting on the board, like just telling kids from an early age, like get the nutrients that you need, make sure you're getting like your protein, your carbs.
Well, educating them with that, like that information, like setting them up with the tools that like you need to get, food in you after a workout so you like recover better, and like you need to have food before you work out, and like if you're doing like a long hard session, like maybe you need to be having carbs during the session, like just, and if you're like fueling your body properly, guess what, the weight's going to take care of itself. Like you're going to be at your optimal weight to perform. And so if you just look at it that way, like we don't really need to talk about skin fold tests, and like we don't need to do weigh-ins, because it all will just, and at that age group level and stuff, like that stuff doesn't need to be considered. Like we're not trying to win an Olympic gold medal, and I don't know. Yeah, so I don't know, but people can get attached to their goals however they want to get attached to their goals. I'm not here to tell people how to get attached or what to invest in. You know what I mean?
Totally. But the last thing you want to do is like tell kids like watch out for your BMI. It's just not to somebody who's 13 and just possibly getting into this.
Like think about it as a girl, like going through puberty, like, and their body's changing, and now you're telling them they might gain a little bit of weight when you go through puberty, and now you're telling them that's not okay, and now you need to control that and all that stuff. Like it's just not, and your body's going through all these changes, and then to think about that at the same time, I don't know. It's just it's crazy to me. It's just crazy to me. So.
Just not a great message to send, especially to females who are going through so many changes at the time. I mean, age. But I really appreciate you like opening up about like the eating disorder on the show, and I think it's just something that people need to hear. Like we talked about in the green room, like you're not alone.
No.
Yeah, people are. We're all going through something, and eating disorder is one that I think, and body image is one that I think many people struggle with, males, females, like all of us. So thank you for being open about that. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
But now, before we end the show, we're going to get into the rapid fire section. There's no hard-hitting journalism here. These are not any gotcha questions. These are just we've only ever had one person ever look up the questions and cheat sheet them before they got on the show.
I didn't cheat. I didn't cheat.
But Jen, are you ready for the rapid fire?
I'm ready for the rapid fire.
All right, let's do this. Candy corn, yay or nay?
Yay.
Oh man. I think I'm okay with that. I don't know if Jason will like it. Apparently, they made like a bacon flavored candy corn.
I don't know about that. I can't have too much because like whatever, it kind of starts to give me a headache after a while. But I love the pumpkins. Love the pumpkins. Maybe that's not candy corn, but the little, I don't know what they're called. Those are good too.
Okay, I'll give it to you on the pumpkin one. Peeps, yay or nay?
Nay. No.
it's funny. We've had people will talk about everything from peep jousting to stale peeps. Peep jousting is where you take like toothpicks, and if I'm getting this right, if you take toothpicks, connect like the peeps, and you put them in the microwave, and they'll fight with each other.
Oh, that's hilarious. I know you can put them in the microwave and they blow up. I've heard, right? That's a thing.
Yeah, and then you put the toothpick, and then they'll start fighting with each other.
Now I want to go get some peeps. Easter's over, and I'm sure they're on sale. I should go get some fighting peeps.
Peeps, if you're listening to this, like, you got sponsors at this point. We've gotten 3 people who do peep jousting. Red velvet, is it a real flavor, or is it just chocolate with red dye?
Oh, that's a good question. I think chocolate with red dye.
Yeah, that's the right answer. Oreos, the cream and the cream filling, or the cookie?
Cream filling.
Yeah. Double stuffed, the best. When you do a workout, let's say you're going for a run, do you listen to music, podcast, or nothing at all?
I always listen to something. So it's either I'm on the phone with a friend, so mostly music, sometimes podcasts. I when I ride my bike on podcasts. That's kind of my thing. Yeah.
All right. What podcasts have you been listening to recently?
Oh my God. The Glennon Doyle one, We Can Do Hard Things. I like Dak Shepard's Armchair Expert. That's pretty much Chelsea Handler's. Sometimes if I need a good laugh, I listen to hers, but hers is also kind of insightful. Those are kind of my three go-tos. So, yeah.
Do you have a favorite TV show? Do you have a favorite TV show that you watched recently?
Oh, I started watching The Company You Keep. It's like, I think it's pretty new. We don't have cable. I guess we have Netflix and we have Hulu. But I will say, when I'm doing my job as a tax accountant, sometimes I have my laptop in the background and I'm listening to something. So the benefits of working from home.
Yeah, work from home. The best. Well, Jen, thank you so much for coming on the show. This was a great conversation, and you're welcome back anytime. And really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah, and I hope you have a great rest of your evening.
Yeah, thanks. You too.
Bye.
Bye.